Hey everybody, this is Darren Sabedra again, Bay Area News Group, Mercury News East Bay Times, here with Joseph Dycus and Mike Lefkow. How you guys doing?
Okay.
Feeling
Good?
great.
Doing
Feels
great?
feels like the high school season's really getting underway.
Well, we're going into week three.
Week three, right? So we kind of feel like we kind of know who's good and who isn't, but not sure, not for sure.
Want to give a shout out to our audience and our readers. We're smashing records over here at the Bay Area News Group, so we thank you for your subscriptions and everything else. I mean, it's this has been a long time coming, building this operation, and every year we see gains, and this year we're seeing substantial gains. So shout out to all of our readers out there who appreciate our coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get to the picks, which last week Joseph and I went 10-6, we would have made the playoffs in an old NFL season at 10-6. Mike Lefkow coming in at 9-7. So through 2 weeks, we're all 18-14. So we'll take
the 1 year I covered the 49ers, they did not make it at 10-6.
Ooh, okay. Well,
they started 4-6, won their last 6 games, but fell short.
Well, in the expanded playoff format, we probably would have made it at 10-6.
Probably.
Right?
Well, they probably would have made it most years at 10-6 that year too, but it's one of those fluke years.
Well, we're going to pick 16 more games in this show, but before we get to that, we'll go over a couple of roundtable topics, starting with DLS-St. Mike Lefkow, I mean, what were your thoughts? I mean, it was 8-0 after 3 quarters. So I mean, they played competitively against Serra on the road, but lost 28-0. So their last 2 fourth quarters against Serra last year and this year, we're looking at a 37-0 difference in the fourth quarter between Serra and DLS-St. And if you look at the last 2 games against Serra, well, let's see, the last 5 quarters against Serra, that would be 45-0 in favor of Serra. And the last 7 quarters this season, 49-0, because they scored 14 in the first quarter against Orange Lutheran. It was all tied up, and then they lost 35-14. So the Spartans, as Justin Allenbaugh, Coach Allenbaugh pointed out after the game, if there's a 0 on that board, we ain't winning. And there's been a lot of zeros on the board for DLS-St. So Mike Lefkow, as someone who has followed DLS-St for decades, what are your thoughts about the 0-2 Spartans as they get ready to go back to where this tailspin kind of began 2 years ago when they played St. Francis in 2021 and were stunned 31-28?
Well, I think DLS-St has come back to the pack a little bit. And, to be honest, I'm not sure they're going to get through their schedule, their North Coast section part of the schedule unbeaten. I
think they're going to lose to an NCS team for the first time in 53 years.
I could see them losing to San Ramon Valley. I don't think anybody else in the EBAL is capable of beating them. Well, maybe Clayton Valley, but I don't know. But I think San Ramon Valley is a real good team, and it's going to depend on what kind of attitude they take into the game. And then you get into the playoffs, we don't know how good Pittsburgh is right now. I mean, we're getting an idea, but we're not sure yet how good Pittsburgh is. And I mean, that Division I in NCS is loaded.
It's a 32-year streak for DLS-St, not 33. I said 33 earlier. 32-year streak of unbeaten play against their North Coast section opponents. I agree with you that San Ramon is really good, and it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, that's so far down the road. I mean, there's a lot of play before then, but how would they take that game, later on in the season, given that they are Division I now? So they might have to play DLS-St again in the playoffs. So, but I'm with you. But you know what? In 2016, we kind of looked at that Monte Vista team as having a shot against DLS-St. They were undefeated, 9-0. Remember, with Jake Hayner and those guys? Right. And that year DLS-St beat San Ramon by a point on the road. And and then it was really no contest against Monte Vista in that Week 10 game. And you and I saw how Monte Vista was that season later on when they beat Najee Harris in an NCS championship game.
And they beat them comfortably too. Well, that Monte Vista team had 3 or 4 Pac-12 players. Diener went to Washington. They had Nate Landman, who ended up going to Colorado. And they had Cromenhoek, the tight end, who went to USC. And I think Corey Luciano might have also been on that team. He went to Washington. And their kicker went, Peyton Henry. They sent 3 guys to UW.
How did Monte Vista not give him more of a game with all that talent?
No, Monte Vista rolled Antioch. I think the finals was something like 42 to 60.
He's talking about De La Salle.
De La Salle.
When you play De La Salle at the end of the season, it's a little different than playing them early in the season, and they were firing on all cylinders by then. And
I think one of the problems with some of the North Coast section teams is they still don't realize that De La Salle is human, and they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like the other players. I still think there's an intimidation factor. And I think once NCS teams start getting over that, some of them might have success.
Well,
and I think SRV is a good team this year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The Spartans have lost now 5 games to teams from this region out of the 8 that they've lost over the last couple of years. So they went 30 years without losing to a team from this region. And now they've lost 5 in 2 years. They'll be going back to St. Francis on Friday, and we'll talk about that more in the picks.
I think that game tells us a lot.
What's that?
I think that game will tell us a lot.
It will. We'll get to that more in the picks. It's a teaser here. But anyhow, Serra. Serra's now 2-0. Shut out St. Francis. Shut out De La Salle at home, 28-0. Beat Folsom 21-14, shut Folsom out for 3 quarters, and then gave up 14 points in the 4th quarter. Serra's defense, Justin Allenbaugh was asked about Serra's defense after the game. He says it's better than last year's Serra defense. He says they hit and they're in position and they do the things that make defenses good. Joseph, what are your impressions so far of Serra and this game coming up? I mean, you saw these teams play last year in San Mateo. I think the Central Catholic team's pretty good. Is this a potential trap game going with Serra traveling to Modesto on a Friday to play Central Catholic?
Certainly, Central Catholic has talent. I think according to Cal Preps, they're the 40th team?
40th on the computer. Serra's in the top 10.
But I watched you were in San Mateo. I was watching on the computer, and that Serra defense it looked faster even than last year's Serra defense that held Central Catholic in check. And so it could be a trap game, but I can't see Serra slipping up, especially after winning these last 2 games, which neither one were very easy, right?
No. I mean, both of them were. I mean, they jumped on Folsom 21-0 early, and then just went quiet for a couple of quarters. It almost felt like, what's going on here? I mean, there was nothing. Remember, you even mentioned it. There was nothing on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it. Or whatever Elon's calling it. There was nothing for a long stretch because nothing happened. It was a weird game. So I think the Serra team is really good. That they're still obviously, I don't think, at the level of as Patrick Walsh has pointed out a couple of times, the NFL teams down in Southern California and in Bosco and Mater Dei, which is unfortunate because another great Serra season, if they continue to plow through the competition, will end with the quote unquote state championship game that really has been a complete mismatch for several years now. And the CIF continues to not tweak the format to try to figure out how to get the marquee game more competitive. Mike, I'll let you chime in on Serra real quick before we move on to our last topic, and then we'll get to the picks real quick.
Well, I kind of disagree. I think this could be a trap game for Serra. I mean, Central Catholic is a good football team, and they've got some good players. I think they've got a couple kids who are going Power 5. They have the one kid who's going to Cal. That is a good football team, and the way Serra has played so far, where okay, they led De La Salle 8-0 going in the fourth quarter. They gave up 14 points to Folsom in the fourth quarter. They have not put teams away as early as they should. And if you give Central Catholic an opening up there, the other thing too is that the weather is a lot different in Modesto than it is in San Mateo. And it's going to be a lot hotter in Modesto than it is in San Mateo. And that's going to take a toll on the Serra kids before it takes a toll on the Central Catholic kids.
So you're well, we'll get to our picks later to see who you picked, but it sounds like you think this is going to be a very tough game for Serra, going east over to Modesto to play the Central Catholic team. Last topic here is McClymonds. I saw them on Friday night against Bellarmine, 29 players strong. I mean, these guys, for a season opener, were awfully impressive. They dominated on the stat sheet. They dominated on the scoreboard, pulled away in the third quarter, led 14-0. But I mean, to hold Bellarmine, on my stat sheet, Bellarmine had 27 yards passing, one on a fairly big play late, in the game, and minus 15 yards rushing and 7 sacks. Joseph, you've seen McClymonds a number of times since you've moved out here. Is that a typical McClymonds game to dominate that way?
Yes, for an OAL school. I'm going to be honest. I picked McClymonds to win. I did not expect them to go to San Jose and win 40-0 with a running clock in the fourth quarter. I mean, last year's game was 24-21 overtime win. When I kept seeing those updates from you where it was, now it's 26-0, 30 whatever nothing, 40, I was like, no way, this had to be a mistake. But kind of like what we say about Pittsburgh, they don't rebuild, they just reload. Tajir Golden was kind of that Percy Harvin type player last year, a little bit of a receiver, a little bit of a running back. Sounds like now they're just having a running back, and he ran wild. So,
well, you're going to see them on Friday night. They get a home game against Bishop O'Dowd, which will be their first game against the Dragons, the private school in Oakland, since 2012. Which was a Bishop O'Dowd victory. We'll get more into that in the picks. Mike Lefkow, what are your thoughts real quick on McClymonds before we move to the picks?
I think they're a very good football team. I mean, they may only have 29 players, but all 29 of those kids are good players. And they're well coached, and they get a lot of players. I mean, one thing I've heard is they may have 29 players, but they're the best 29 players in Oakland.
Yep.
So,
we're going to find out about them moving forward. I mean, after O'Dowd, they've got San Ramon on the road, which that was an epic game last year. And then they've got De La Salle on the road. So, Coach Peters joked, I was a little punch drunk after the state game, putting that schedule together. But I think he knew what he was doing, and we're going to see some great football moving forward as Mac gets into the teeth of its schedule.
Well, to prove how good they are, because once they get into the OAL, who's going to compete with them?
Nobody.
Joseph learned after last year.
Yes,
Nobody.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the picks. As we've noted earlier, Joseph and I went 10-6 last week. Mike Lefkow 9-7, so we're all tied through 2 weeks. All of us are 18-14. Guys, we're going to start off with Amador Valley, which moved into the rankings this week at number 17. They're going to be taking on Acalanes, which dropped. Still in the rankings, are in the 20s. Acalanes is 0-2, but that's been a tough schedule for Acalanes. I mean, losing to San Marin and then to San Ramon last week. Amador had the one of the stunners of week 2, winning at Camp Lindo 6-0. I'm maybe not shocked that they won, but the fact that they shut out a Kevin Macy team was eye-opening, because Danny Jones really loves his defense, and they really showed something last week. I'm taking Amador Valley to win this game. I think it's be close. I don't know if they can hold Alkalanis to 0, but I think they'll do just enough to win. But I see a very low-scoring game, and I see Amador Valley winning. Joseph Dycus, who you got?
I'm gonna go with Akalani's. Very impressive defense, like you said, at Amador Valley. They've given up a combined 13 points this season. But
2 games.
I mean, to 2 games, I think Akalani's is gonna win. I don't think it's gonna be high scoring, but they'll score more than 14 points, I think.
Mike Lefkow?
I think Akalani's wins. I think this is a good football team. They've run into 2 very tough teams so far. I think because the game's at Akalani's, I think they straighten it out and win this game.
Okay. Game 2 on the list. We've got Bellarmine, which we've discussed. We discussed earlier. Held to 12 yards of offense against McClymonds. They're going to be hitting the road to play Monte Vista. Monte Vista is 2-0 and has looked very impressive through 2 games. I'm going with the home team here. I'm taking Monte Vista. Mike, who you got?
Oh, I'm going with Monte Vista. I was very impressed with the way they played last week.
Joseph?
I'll make it Monte Vista too.
All right. Battle of Unbeaten is on the peninsula. We got Hillsdale 2-0, traveling to Woodside 2-0. Woodside's 2-3 against Hillsdale in the Max Preps era. And their last meeting was in 2017, which Hillsdale won 49-0. I'll let Mike Lefkow go first. Who you got?
I'm going to go with Woodside. I like that running game is pretty awesome that they have with the kid Usher.
Ivan Usher, yeah.
Yeah, what's he got already? Like he's averaging well over 200 yards in their first 2 games.
Joseph?
I'm going with Mike. I think Woodside wins.
I've got Woodside too. Clean sweep for Woodside. Game 4 on the list is Lee, undefeated 2-0, traveling to Mountain View 1-1. Joseph, you were out there to tell the emotional story out of Mountain View after what happened to that program last week with Dylan Daniels' mother passing away, and the team playing a game against Live Oak, falling short. But as Coach Lugo said after that game, they were all winners last week getting on the field. They'll be at home to play Lee. I got Mountain View winning this game. I think it's going to be close, but I think Mountain View, having beaten Kings Academy and then playing Live Oak close, will pull this one out. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
Yep, I agree. I think Mountain View handles Lee.
Joseph?
I hate to keep agreeing with you guys. I'm going to go with Mountain View too.
Wow.
But I will say Lee's defense is very, very, very good.
You wrote about him in our Monday Morning Lights column this week.
Check it out.
Coach Padilla and his staff doing a great job with that defense, which still a little young, but very, very good. Game 5 on the list, Hollister at 1-1. They lost a close one last week to Wilcox, traveling to Valley Christian, which is 2-0. Valley beat Salinas on the road last week and then won by I think a point over Wilcox to open the season. Valley's at home. I'm taking Valley. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
Yep, I'm going to go with Valley Christian.
Joseph?
I'll go with Valley. You know, if we're all going to have really good weeks, we're about to have a really bad week.
We're all going to have really bad weeks. Yes, but we still have a number of games here. We're only on game 6. We got Wood of Vacaville at 3-0, traveling to Liberty 1-1. Liberty's got to be, incredibly disappointed that they weren't able to hold that lead last week against Los Gatos. I think it was 34-14 at one point. And they lost 35-34 at home. Well, they're back at home on Friday, and I got Liberty beating Wood, even though Wood is 3-0. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
Yeah, I'm taking Liberty. I think they'll recover in fine fashion.
Joseph?
I'll take Liberty too.
Man, did we compare notes before this?
No, we did not.
Don't
worry though. I have some suspect picks later on in the show.
All right. Game 7 on the list. Windsor at 0-1. They lost to Escalon last week. They're going to travel to Campo Lindo at 1-1. Campo had the big win over Vandit in week 1, and then as we discussed, lost to Amador Valley 6-0 last week. I think Campo bounces back. I'm taking Campo to beat Windsor. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
Yeah, I think Campo wins that game, but I think it's going to be close.
I do too. Joseph?
I have to pick Campolindo. So
I thought you were going to start throwing some.
no,
curveballs.
don't worry. That's coming up soon. It's coming up soon.
All right. Los Gatos at 2-0. We're not sure where this game is going to be played as we record this on Tuesday morning. Going to be playing Grant of Sacramento. They were supposed to be playing Live Oak, but that game was canceled yesterday. Los Gatos announced that they would not be playing Live Oak and would be playing Grant. Sounds like Live Oak pulled out of that game. We're not sure why. Got a no comment from Live Oak's longtime coach Mike Gimo. So not sure why or what's going to happen with Live Oak, but Los Gatos has picked up a game. They picked up Grant of Sacramento. Grant is 2-1. I think their one loss was to Oak Ridge by 3, and Oak Ridge is very good. They won a state championship last year. They blew the doors off El Cerrito in a regional last year.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very, as Mike Lefkow likes to say, this is a very good football team.
Yeah.
But tip of the cap to Los Gatos and Mark Crail and his program for picking up this game rather than saying, like some people might say, oh, we'll just take the forfeit win and look good on the record, I imagine it would have been a forfeit win. I don't know that for sure, but I'm guessing it could have been a forfeit win, which would have put Los Gatos at 3-0. But instead they picked up a game, and not only a game, they picked up a challenging game playing Grant of Sacramento. Tip of the cap to Los Gatos, but I'm going to take Grant in this game. I think Grant is really good. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
Well, can I take Los Gatos if the game's at Los Gatos and Grant if the game's at Grant?
Ooh, you know what? That's a good point. Because Joseph, what do you think, Joseph? Or does he have to pick here?
You got to pick here. Okay?
You got to pick here, Mike Lefkow.
All right, I'll take Gatos over Grant. I think it's going to be a real tough game, and
this could be a great game. This could be a really great game.
Oh yeah,
I'm glad that they scheduled it. Because like I said, I mean, some people would have said, you know what, we're just going to take the week off and move on. No, Los Gatos went and got a 10th game, and that's,
Yeah, give them credit. They got a 10th game against a very good team.
Yeah.
You know what, Mark Crail, I respect you for scheduling Grant, and you know what, I don't care if this game is played on Mars. I would still pick Los Gatos. So
there you guys go.
No matter where they play. 2
Los Gatos, 1 Grant. All right, game 9 on the list. Joseph, you'll be there at the Mac house as Mac takes on Bishop O'Dowd. My guess is Mac is probably like chomping at the bit to play Bishop O'Dowd. What do you think, Mike Lefkow?
Oh, I think they are definitely chomping at the bit. This is a game I would pick for a running clock.
Ooh. Bishop O'Dowd over Mac?
Oh yeah, sure. No, I mean, Mac has wanted this game for a long time. Now, Mac, they're human. They're going to see O'Dowd's really struggling this year, and so you don't know what's going to happen. But I think Mac wins this one pretty easily.
Okay, I got Mac winning too. Joseph, who you got?
I think Mac's going to win, and like Lefty said, I think it's going to be a running clock.
So you're going to go up to Hardy Nickerson after this game when they pull it out at the last second and say, "Yeah, I was the one who picked running clock."
Wouldn't be the first time, right? That I've had to do that.
All right. Game 10 on the list. San Ramon Valley hitting the road to go to Elk Grove. San Ramon's 2-0. Elk Grove is 1-2. Elk Grove's a team that lost to MA last week, right?
Right.
Yep. I got San Ramon going to 3-0. Luke Baker and the boys. Joseph, who you got?
I think San Ramon wins. I think they win fairly comfortably, actually. Maybe 2 touchdowns.
All right. Mike Lefkow?
Yeah, I got SRV winning, but there's not going to be a running clock in this game.
Oh, no.
Serra-Central Catholic-Modesto. Padres' first road game of the season. Not an easy place to play. As Mike Lefkow says, it could be hot. I got Serra. I'm not picking against Serra. Mike, who you got?
No, I'm going to take Serra, but I think it's going to be a tough game. I don't think Serra's going to run away from Central Catholic.
Joseph?
Yeah, I'll take Sarah. I think it'll be something like 24-14.
The last Friday night game on our list before we move on to a few Saturday games, we got De La Salle at 0-2. Spartans have not scored in 7 quarters. Traveling to St. Francis at 1-1. De La Salle's first trip back to Mountain View since the epic outcome 2 years ago. Mike, I'm going to let you go first. Who you got?
I'm going to take De La Salle to win this game. I think they get their first victory of the season, but it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. I got De La Salle circled here too. I'm taking the Spartans to get their first win of the 2023 season. Joseph Dycus, who you got? You're smiling, so I'm thinking you're going to throw.
It's so hard. I mean, you know what? They're playing at home. Give me St. Francis. I think the Lancers win.
You think Aaron Knapp and the guys are going
to
pull off?
Wouldn't be any great surprise.
I don't think it. Yeah, I don't think it would be a surprise at all. If I mean,
it would be a surprise to me. I mean, I saw them play last year, and De La Salle won 35-3.
It's a new year. It's a new team.
That's true. I mean, 2 years ago, the previous year, De La Salle blew them out in 20, whatever that was. 20.
Now, do we want to put a score on it for the game? Do you want to pick a score? Because I'll say St. Francis wins 17-13.
All right. I'm going to say De La Salle wins 24-10.
I'm going to say De La Salle 24-17.
Wow. Okay. All right. We put scores on the De La Salle St. Francis game. Let's move on to Saturday real quick. Salesian at St. Mary's of Berkeley. Both teams are 2-0. I got Coach Nightingale's team winning. I'm taking Salesian. Joseph, who you got?
I'll take St. Mary's of Berkeley. They're playing at home. I think that'll be enough of an edge.
All right, Mike.
I'm going to take St. Mary's, but just to say something about this game, I had talked to the St. Mary's coach. I think they should do something to honor Dan Shaughnessy, who coached at both of these schools, was a great coach, a really good guy, great family. It would really be, and they had good football teams when he was at both schools. It'd be really nice to see them do something like call this the Shag Bowl or something like that. Because those of us who knew Shag, what's that?
Did we know that they're not honoring him? They
I don't know. I asked the St. Mary's coach if they were thinking about it, but I don't know. But it would be nice if they did. I mean, he was a great coach. I mean, people throw around legendary this, legendary that. Shaughnessy was a legendary coach. You could ask Laddiser. I mean, Laddiser had a lot of respect for Shag, even though they didn't always get along.
Well, and I know his son coached for a number of years, and we were out on vacation when Coach Shaughnessy passed away this summer, and I got a text from him, and I let the office know that Coach had passed. So that's a good idea, Mike Lefkow.
Well, I know his daughter Casey. She's really nice. She used to work for the networks, and she used to help produce a lot of the A's games. So I'd see her there all the time.
All right, moving on to the next game at Reardon on Saturday. They're going to be hosting St. Bonaventure from Ventura. It's coming in at 1-2. Lost soundly to Lincoln of San Diego last week. But we all know about Lincoln of San Diego. They're the team that edged De La Salle in one of the state championship games down in Mission Viejo last season. This will be Reardon's toughest test of the non-league schedule. Mm-hmm. But given that they're playing at home and St. Bonaventure is having to make the long trip up from Southern California, I'm going to take Reardon to win, but it's going to be much closer than Reardon's first 2 games. So that's who I got. Joseph, who you got?
Pretty much same as you. I think Reardon wins. I think it's going to be a really high scoring game, though.
Mike?
I'm going to go with Reardon. I think they win. I don't know if they'll win comfortably, but I think they win.
All right, so all 3 for Reardon. 2 more games on the list. Sacred Heart Prep at Palo Alto. It's listed at Saturday night. That's what we're calling it until somebody tells us otherwise. It's an interesting matchup, but I'm going to take Sacred Heart Prep. I think they got it right last week, beating Sacred Heart Cathedral after losing soundly at Reardon in week 1. So I'm taking Sacred Heart Prep to win. Mike, who you got?
I'm going to go with Sacred Heart Prep.
Joseph?
I'll take Palo Alto. I need to set myself apart from you guys. So gotta make some interesting picks.
Last pick of week 3, Clayton Valley 1-1, lost to a really good team from Arizona last week. Hitting the road to play Oak Ridge. I think we mentioned Oak Ridge earlier. They're the only team to beat Grant, I believe. I think it was a 3-point game. This was a really, really good Oak Ridge team. Really tough road game for Clayton Valley. They had another tough one at Salinas a couple weeks ago and won that game. I think this is going to be too tough for Clayton. I think they're going to fall short. I think I'm taking Oak Ridge. Joseph, who you got?
I'm gonna go with the home team or the Bay Area team. Give me a Clayton Valley Charter.
All right. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
I'm going to go with Oak Ridge. This is the Honor Bowl, isn't it?
Is this the Honor Bowl?
This is one of the Honor Bowl games.
It's one of the Honor Bowls. Okay.
I think it's the final Honor Bowl game.
The Honor Bowl put on by Coach Soto throughout down in the San Diego area and then up north. The game up north has bounced around. It was in the Bay Area for a few years. I think at James Logan 1 year, at St. Francis another year, Liberty maybe, I think.
I think Liberty hosted 1 year.
And now it's back in the Sacramento area. So this is one of the Honor Bowl games. They had a few last week too, right?
Yeah.
In San Diego. So it raises money and awareness for and obviously salute to veterans, near and far. So
there's a couple of games on Friday night too up in Sacramento for the Honor Bowl.
Oh, okay, very good. It's been a very, very successful series of games, right? I mean, through the years.
Oh yeah, and this is certainly a marquee game, I think.
Remember, we went to one at Logan when Clayton Valley was there.
Yeah.
Who did they beat? Remember?
They beat Liberty.
They beat Liberty. That's right.
That was a good game.
Yeah, it was a great game.
We were all second guessing Murph because he went for it on 4th down deep in his own territory.
What? Somebody second guessing Murph for going for it on 4th down from his own 5-yard line?
Even Partridge was scratching his head on that one.
Oh, those were the days. You guys have anything else to add before we wrap this thing up?
Just want to say for athletes of the week, please nominate your athletes, both boys and girls. We take any sport,
all fall sports,
all fall CIF sports. Votes are conducted. There's a link that's sent out where you go to the website and you vote on that poll. So votes by email do not count.
So just open up the article page, and below all of the list of candidates is the poll. And you vote there, and you can vote as many times as you want. You can even keep the link open and continue voting. Just please don't send in email votes because those do not count. That's been noted in the article page. It's now noted a second time on that article page. So hopefully that will keep people from voting via email. So anyhow, check out our coverage at mercurynews.com, eastbaytimes.com. Again, shout out to our readers out there for making this operation a success, because without your contributions, it's like any business. If we don't have readers, we don't have people subscribing, the business goes away. Right. It's as simple as that. So we want to give a shout out to our readers who in August smashed records and are off to a great start in September. So anyhow, we're going to sign off for now. We'll be back next week. And of course, we'll have game coverage and everything else all weekend long.